All right, without further ado, David Faris, welcome back, young man.
Thanks, Ben. It's great to be here. I hope nobody listening to the show was planning to retire this week because portfolios aren't great. I take a train several times a week downtown from Rogers Park to Ogilvy, where all the Deloittes and the finance people are. And I tell you, Ben, the mood on the train yesterday was not good in that set. You know what I mean? People weren't looking real thrilled. And I did remember right after the election, a lot of the kind of rich white people riding the metro with me seemed relatively pleased, and I think that sense of pleasure has disappeared, been vaporized along with their 401ks. So that's what's going on.
Well, I generally remain optimistic. I feel I'm not even going to say that. I feel so naive saying this. I've just been through so many ups and downs of markets, as I said at the outset, that I just view it as sooner or later, they always say the markets go up and they go down. So you just got to wait it out. But what I like to say is that in the past, the people running the show were capitalists who were basically dedicated to a bottom line. And I probably agreed with them absolutely nothing, particularly the fact that I had to rely on a 401k to take care of me when I got old. I would much prefer a pension, like a real pension, okay? Like the Chicago teachers have. Shout out Chicago teachers. You got a real pension, all right? Or a lot of professors have pensions. But in reality, that's not the world that I grew up in as a journalist. And so, all right. So it seems to me, David, that there is no rational human being making decisions these days politically. It's a freaking lunatic, a demented lunatic surrounded by butt lickers. And so in that regards, it's a frightening time. Your general thoughts about the economic policies of Donald Trump and his tariffs taken away?
I mean, we're really in uncharted territory here, right? Because no one alive listening to this show has ever witnessed like a national executive destroying the country's wealth and international position on purpose. You've got kids, Ben. So, there's, these moments with you're raising a child, you have these moments with a partner where you're like, let's let him stay up late to eat pizza tonight and watch a movie or something, and you look at your partner, you're like, okay, whatever, this is on you. You know what I mean? If this is what you want to do, if you want to tempt fate like this is on you. And everything that happens flows from that decision in a way that reminds me of that the Republican Party is could not possibly be more on the hook for the consequences of what they're doing right now. But it's impossible to blame this on Biden, right? This is a direct result of a policy that this dude announced on national television. And all of the negative consequences that are flowing from a weird and gratuitous decision to crash the markets in pursuit of some vague goal that they can't even articulate, on American Pravda at night on Fox News. No one can articulate a coherent rationale. They're all just they all look like hostages, except the two or three true believers, Lutnick, whatever his name is. Who's they're like, this is great. I mean, it's like Baghdad Follies out there, and it's astonishing. And I think the Wall Street people are shocked because you remember right after the election, there were all these quotes on background with Wall Street execs and these finance bros that were like, yeah, man, we can say retarded again. This is great. It's going to be awesome, man. Let the good times roll. And they didn't believe him. Obviously so many Americans didn't believe that he was going to do the things that he said he was going to do. And I'll admit, I'm still shocked that he actually went through with it. It's they've been saying this for months and months and months, dating back to last year, that they were going to deliberately inflict pain on the economy to bring about some sort of transformation into what exactly they can't even say. Mm-hmm. But we're going to reshore all the manufacturing in the world to America. You can just do that by snapping your fingers, or what they're doing, which is alienating allies and adversaries alike with this behavior. So it's the stock market's down close to 10% over the last 3 days. I mean, just an astonishing amount of money has been sucked out of people's retirement accounts and investment portfolios. Like he's vaporized like trillions of dollars of wealth, all in search of like an imagined history of a time where like this is how America got like big and rich and powerful. When the reality is like when countries were behaving like this and when we were behaving like this in the 19th century, we were much poorer and less prosperous than we are now. And so it's just so unimaginable what they're doing right now. And they have obviously not even thought through the first order consequences of what they're doing. You know, like Trump got on his Truth Social yesterday and said like, the patient is in recovery. Like, you know, the surgery went well. And everybody's like,
oh Lord,
what the fuck are you talking about, man? Like, why are we in surgery? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing, man? You know, it's like, we got problems. Like, there's no question the United States has problems, right? But like one of them was not like there's too much money in the stock market and we should intentionally make people poorer and have them pay higher prices for everything. It's just insane. So I don't know. I'm not happy about it. I don't like it.
There's a couple follow-ups I have. One, when you were talking about dealing with children, I had a flash. It's been a long time since my kids were kids. They're all grown and they have kids of their own, etc. But there was a guy, a friend of mine, Steve. Shout out to Steve. I haven't seen him in a long time, and he was a therapist. Follow me in this, David. And so when we were young parents together. And so when our kids were like 3 or 4 and we were dealing with stubborn toddlers who had a view of the world of their own, Steve taught me this. And so let's say it's really cold out. And I remember this. It was really cold out. And I think it was his son announced that he was not going to wear his jacket. He was not going to wear his jacket. Right. And so I'm watching this and I was really impressed with what Steve did. And so he told his son, he goes, okay, you do not have to wear your jacket, which is an interesting approach. Definitely my parents wouldn't take, you put that jacket on right now. He said, it's okay, but I'm going to teach you, you're going to learn something about natural consequences. This is this guy talking to a 3-year-old about natural consequences. So you're not going to wear your jacket, but when you go outside, you're going to be really cold. And that will be a natural consequence. And so he let the kid go freeze. This was parenting. I'm like, I was impressed by that. We've talked about that forever. It's like a joke in our house. Natural consequence. Okay, you want to do something that stupid? There's going to be a natural consequence. Politically, will there be a natural consequence for Donnie? Or is the cult so strong, David, that they will stand by him while they watch their savings, as you said, vaporized? Go ahead.
Well, boy, howdy, Ben. I'd love to be optimistic here, but I mean, we're still within like 3 years of when the entire Republican Party encouraged all of their followers to like die on purpose by not getting a vaccine. And then hundreds of thousands of them did, in fact, go and die on purpose by not getting vaccinated. So you can't have clearer material consequences for Republican policy than them like trashing the COVID vaccine and then watching as hundreds of thousands of like diehard Republicans choose not to get vaccinated and then like die towards the tail end of the pandemic. And so it's like, you would think that like very clear material consequences of Republican decision-making would break through to people because they're experiencing them as we speak. But I've kind of just lost all faith in the ability of Americans to like update their beliefs with new information. What I will say is like, I mean, obviously they are losing people that voted for Trump right now, right? Is it going to reach the cult? No. The problem for them is that the cult itself is only 30% of the country.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a big cult. Don't get me wrong. It's a big, scary cult, and they are doing a lot of harm. But there's a significant chunk of Republicans that just went along with it because they thought they'd get richer again. You know, and they like Trump has this mythology of economic wizardry that dates to his first term. And obviously, like, he cast that spell on a lot of Republicans who should have known better. He cast that spell on a lot of people in Wall Street and finance and industry who thought that once again Trump would come in, make some weird threats, but ultimately not do a lot of the things that he said he was going to do, as he did in his first term, and that's just not what happened here. And so there's a lot of people out there right now thinking like, you know, like, boy, I love threatening Chicago with depriving them of all of their federal funding for schools, but like I didn't think that Trump would inflict harm on me. Right? Like I voted to inflict harm on other people. You know, it's like the same people that are like, I love these pictures of Christine Neiman in El Salvador, like wearing a $50,000 Rolex while taunting people who we sent to a gulag. I love that stuff, man. That rules. But like my 401k is in the toilet. And I do think that there's going to be some drop off. I mean, the elections that happened this week, where the Democrat in Wisconsin won a judicial seat by 10 points, and then there was like roughly a 15, 16 point swing towards Democrats in those two Florida special elections. You know, it wasn't enough to get them over the hump because those are Republican plus 30 seats, but there's clearly a reaction happening out there. It's taking shape. You don't want to read too much into special elections because the electorate is very different from a general election. But like, I don't think there's any question that if an election was held tomorrow, Republicans would probably do quite poorly in that election. And the more time passes and the more it sinks into people that like, they don't actually have a plan. You know, the plan is like, we're going to go through some pain and suffering, and then like, we're going to get through on the other side, and it's going to be a great like golden age again. They don't have a timeline for it. They don't have a cause and effect theory about it, right? They're just like, we're going to unleash these tariffs, and then like presto magic, the manufacturer's we're going to have a big manufacturing boom in America. And it's like, even if that was true on its own terms, it takes like 3 to 5 years for people to like relocate their manufacturing, right? Like even if you give them like the best case scenario, right? Like the benefits of this outweigh the costs, like a bunch of tax money rolls in, and some large manufacturers decide to reshore their operations to the United States. It's not going to happen by the midterm elections. The second problem is it's all completely delulu, as the Gen Z says. Delulu.
I like that.
Okay? The plan is sus.
I just want
to like, it's not going to happen that way, right? This is not how international economics works. Like people are not just going to fold. Like there's going to be some countries that fold because they have like dramatically less power than we do. You know, so I wouldn't be surprised if Vietnam was like, yeah, whatever, man. Just like, where do we sign? We'll do whatever you want. But that's not what China's going to do. That's not what the EU is going to do. That's not what actual powerful countries are going to do that have the will and the ability to resist this and to retaliate harder than I think anybody in the Trump administration was expecting. So what's going to happen is he's going to intentionally trigger a recession, right? And you know, maybe some like a little bit of manufacturing trickles back to the U.S., but it's not going to be enough to turn around the larger damage that's being done to the economy, America's relationships with other countries, the trading system itself. People are like fat and happy with a system that like has been working so well that they don't understand it and they don't even see it. Right? Like Donald Trump is taking like an axe to a bunch of like load-bearing institutions and chopping down things that they don't even understand how the things that they are destroying actually work, let alone do they have a real well thought out plan for what to replace those things with. So yeah, I do think there's going to be a big political blowback here. You know,
well, I just want to push back a little bit. You're absolutely correct when you say that right now the message that they're putting out is going to be some pain now, but there'll be great promise in the future. Yes, but they weren't saying that during the campaign, and they clearly weren't saying. And you and I were pointing this out that when we would occasionally discuss the madness of his economic policy, and I have that in quotes because it wasn't a policy; it was utter madness, and it was completely contradictory. He talked about bringing down deficits by cutting taxes. He talked about bringing down inflation by rising prices with tariffs. Pretty much everything he prescribed economically contradicted itself. And then he would just continue to promote it anyway. And again, at the risk of being the boomer I am who chides voters, it was truly one of the most irrational acts I've seen it in a democracy in my lifetime.